Welcome everyone to this week's Creator Weekly. I had a little technical problem with my internet connection, which is why I'm running a little bit late this morning, but I hope you're having an excellent Sunday and weren't waiting here too long. Thank you so much for joining me live. Now, today I'm going to talk about my favorite creator updates from the past week, and I've got an update from YouTube. Instagram shared information about their algorithm. WordPress is letting you have paid newsletters. And I've got a couple things for you to check out. So let's get started. And first, I wanted to mention that immediately after today's live stream, I'll be over on Twitter hosting the Twitter chat for On eBoard. The topic is going to be blogging, and everyone is welcome to join the conversation. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be a blogger. If you read blogs, you have opinions about blogs, please join us over on Twitter for the chat. That's 11 a.m. Pacific time. Okay, so let's get started. And the first update I wanted to mention is kind of a fun one. If you are watching this live stream live, or, any live stream live on your mobile device, you should be able to now give an emoji reaction. These are really cute emoji, heart, smiley, celebrate, 100%, red cheeks. And if you choose this option from the live chat on your mobile device, then it shows an emoji for everyone. The emojis are anonymous though, so no one will know who did which emoji. It's just kind of a fun way to participate. So if you're watching this today live on your mobile device, try the emoji reactions. I believe it's available to everyone. And these will be eventually coming to YouTube on desktop. All right, so that's the first update I wanted to share today. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you've probably noticed that today I am powered by StreamYard rather than Google Meet. And that's because I am testing out several different web-based live streaming platforms. And this time around, it's for StreamYard. So if I look disorganized or confused, that's probably why. It's going to take a little practice. All right, so I think the big update for this past week was an announcement from Instagram sharing their tips for their algorithm. So give me just a moment to call that up. And I am going to show this full screen. So many different options. All right, so Adam Mosseri, who is the CEO of Instagram, published an article about how Instagram ranking works. That's for stories, your feed, and reels, and for the Explorer search page. And I think this is really useful information for both people who post on Instagram and people who look at things on Instagram. This explains how do people get shown content on Instagram. And I recommend reading the whole article. There is a link to my weekly post. And you can get information there, a link to the article, or subscribe to my email newsletter so you can get it in your inbox every week. And a few things I wanted to highlight. First of all, Instagram points out that each type of content has its own separate algorithm. So it's not one big algorithm. There's your feed, there are stories, there is the Explore tab, there are Reels, and there's search. And all of those are ranked slightly differently. The article goes into details about how things are ranked, but I really wanted to point out that for all of these different types of content, Instagram is focusing, first of all, on the posts, the other content that you have interacted with, that you have liked or shared or saved or commented on. And it's looking at the relationship between you and the person or account that posted that content. So if you want to improve your Instagram feed, keep in mind that's what Instagram's looking at. It's looking at who you interacted with before. It's looking at who you follow. It's looking at what it thinks you're interested in. And there's a lot of information here about the various types of content. But they do also mention how you can influence what you see. They say make a favorites list. It's maybe not clear here, but on Instagram, you can click the Instagram logo at top left, and you can switch to either a following feed, which is just content from people you follow, or you can switch to a favorites feed, which is people that you favorited. So that's the way to make sure you don't miss anything that you're really interested in. You can also have close friends and just share with close friends. And Instagram wants you to spend some time curating your own feed so that you mute people that you're not interested in, or block people that you're not interested in, or report posts that are violating the policy. That will obviously help. And there's some tips for improving your recommendations, including saying that you're not interested. If you see a recommended post that you're not interested in, you can go into the three-dot menu and say you're not interested. So that's a signal that Instagram uses. You can hide suggested posts that you really don't want to see with particular words or phrases or emojis. And you can report content that you think violates policy. And you can also see why you're being recommended a post by clicking the three-dot menu icon on that post and then selecting why you're seeing this post, and it gives you an idea of why Instagram is showing that to you. They also talk a little bit about what is shadow banning, and they point out that it's in their interest as a business to make sure that creators can reach the audiences that are interested in seeing their content. So it's not doing it to force you to pay for advertising, for example. At least that's what they say. So I thought this was really interesting. It's worth checking this out if you're active on Instagram. All right, so I can switch views. That's nice. So that is, I think, one of the big updates this week. You should check that out. And I am going to give a shout out to Mark and Craig, who are here live. Thank you for joining me this morning from Southern California, both of you. If anyone else is here live, I'd love to hear where you're joining us from today. And I keep saying it's the morning for me, it's the morning in California. If you are having your evening, hope you're having a nice evening and had an excellent weekend. All right, so the next update I wanted to talk about today, take me just a moment to call this up, is that WordPress has a newsletter plugin. And that newsletter plugin lets you create a newsletter on WordPress. You can either have a WordPress instance on WordPress.com that is just for your newsletter, or you can add that to your existing WordPress blog. And so the update that they announced this week is that you can now set up your newsletter on WordPress.com to take paid subscriptions. And the nice thing is this does not require a paid account. This is available with free WordPress.com accounts. So if you have a free blog on WordPress, you can now set up a newsletter and you can charge people for the newsletter. I think that this is a really nice addition, and I think it fits with most of the other newsletter platforms that are really popular now. Substack, I use Beehive for my newsletter. They both essentially create a blog along with your newsletter where there are back issues of the newsletter that people can see on the web. And so this fits really neatly with WordPress.com giving free hosting or paid hosting and being able to set up your newsletter there. And, if this was available 6 months ago, maybe I would have tried this for my newsletter, but it wasn't. So here we are. All right. So those were my big updates. For creators, the next is really something much more technical. And I'm going to say right up front, this is something that I am still trying to understand well myself. First, let me show you. This is a web search, as I'm sure you can see. If you do a search for a website, whatever kind of search that you do, you will see that there is a line above the name of the web page. And you see that here, if you search for my site, it's the domain name. If you do other searches, oops, I just noticed that I'm not actually showing my screen. All right, so take a look at the web search. This is when I search for my site, peggyktc.com. You can see if you do the search, the area that's right above the search title, the page title is my domain name. And if you do other searches, you'll see that there's actually a website title there instead. I also want to point out really quickly, as you see me sharing my screen, you see this little option appear on the left side of the search results. There's a bookmark icon, there's a sharing icon, and there is a Google Sheets icon. This is one of Google's search labs that lets you add links to a spreadsheet really easily right from the search results. I'm still playing with that, but if you have not signed up for Search Labs yet, click that. It looks like a sort of a beaker, a chemistry beaker at top right, and sign up for Search Labs. So I want to give a big thank you to Mark for the super thanks. I really appreciate that. That's why I do a live stream, because I think you guys will be interested in learning this information, just like I am. I will also mention that I think it's really cool how StreamYard lets me show people's comments right on screen directly from the interface. That's pretty neat. So back to how websites look in the Google search results. So you'll see for my site, there's just a URL above the name of the web page. But for other sites, it will actually show the website name there. So I wanted to point out that Google is sharing information about how to get your website name to appear there rather than your domain name. And there was a post in the Webmasters help community, it's the Google search help community from John Mueller, talking about how to get your site name to show. And it links to resources on how to do that. There's a brief fact that says, why didn't my site name change? Why is my URL showing instead of a site name? It says if your URL is showing rather than a site name, it means that Google systems aren't confident enough to show a site name for your site. There's guidance on how to fix that. So that's obviously something that I need to work on for my site. And I think there's a lot of these settings that Google suggests to make your site look good in Google search. It takes some time to actually do that. If you're using a content management system, there might be a plugin or a setting that you can use. Otherwise, you may need to add markup to your theme directly. I think I'm probably going to have to do that, but it's something to put on your to-do list if you have not yet done that for your website. Okay, so those are really some of the top updates for creators this week. And now I want to share something kind of fun. So I am going to point out a brand new option that's available at the Internet Archive. Let me open up this announcement. So I need to share my screen. Apologies for the delay. I'm still getting used to this system. All right, so the Internet Archive has a brand new library. As you probably know, the Internet archives websites. They also archive other content. There's lots of videos there, and there's audio there. And the latest update they have is archiving the audio library from the University of Southern California. University of Southern California has a really large library of content related to Hollywood, kind of fits. And part of what they have are original sound effects. These are sound effects moved in Hollywood movies, in TV shows. These were recorded on magnetic tape. And they were digitized, I think, starting in the 1970s. So the Internet Archive did not digitize these themselves. Instead, they are working together with the team at USC and an expert named Craig Smith, who has this library at Freesound. Now this library is available on the Internet Archive, and it's a really nice interface. These are the original sounds from the magnetic tapes. They had to do some restoration work to even retrieve the sounds. There's background noise. It's not very clean, but it's a big piece of history. And all of these sounds are licensed in the public domain so that you can use them for your own projects if you want. And so what I wanted to show you is that one of the sound effects I have is the legendary Wilhelm Scream. And so you can read the article on Wikipedia, but this is a sound of someone screaming, supposedly being eaten by an alligator. That was the original movie. But this particular scream has been used over and over and over again in Hollywood. So it's in the Star Wars movies, it's in TV shows, up to the present day. So that's really kind of fun. And if I play this in their player, I'm not sure if the audio will come through, but I'll give it a try. Yeah, that's not really working for me to do this while I'm live streaming. Oh, I'm on the wrong tab. I'm sharing the fresh tab. All right, so this is the information about the this particular collection. There's lots of sub-collections of this audio, and I recommend going to Internet Archive to check this out. It's really kind of fun. You can get all of these original Hollywood sound effects along with comments made by the recording engineers, and you can see that the license is a CC0 1.0 universal. That's public domain. You can use them in your own projects. So that's what I want you to try this week if you want to try something fun. And I will also mention that tomorrow is Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference. It starts at 10 a.m. Pacific time. They are rumored to be announcing new hardware for virtual reality, and it should be really interesting to hear what they say. There's always cool stuff that they announce. So if you want to add a keynote to your schedule for the coming week, Worldwide Developer Conference, Tim Cook from Apple, that's probably the one to choose. So those are this week's updates. I am going to mention that immediately after I end here, I'm going to be going over to Twitter to host the on eBoard chat. We're going to talk about blogging. I'd love to see you there. We have a chat every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. I think that's 6 p.m. UTC right now. And that is all for this week. Thank you for joining me live. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next Sunday.